For whatever reason, it was totally off. And I thought, this is going to be too big. So I ripped it out. Yes, I did. Aren't you impressed? You should be. It was great. Hey knitters, welcome to the Knitty McPurly podcast. I'm your host, Devin Ventry. You can find me at KnittyMcPurly.com. I am Knitty McPurly on Instagram. And if you want to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. Welcome to the podcast. Please subscribe if you are new. Leave me a comment if you like the podcast. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is the end of August, and it is like legit cold out in the mornings. It feels like the end of September. I don't know what wizardry occurred to make August in Virginia so wonderful, but it has been amazing. I got an email from my friend Melissa, who sent me this Maryland mug. Hey, Melissa. And we were talking about the Shenandoah Fiber Festival, which is the last weekend in September. So in about a month, it's in Berryville, Virginia. Is anyone going? I think I'm going to go. Every year I say, I think I'm going to go, and then I don't end up going. I think last year it rained. I'm going to go this year. Like, I am legit going. So I don't know if I'm going on Saturday or Sunday. Sunday probably is better for me because I usually do the podcast on Saturday, and we go to 6:30 a.m. mass. So, my day is pretty free after that. And it's like from 10 in the morning till 5. The vendors are out. There's food. It's a great little fiber festival. I've been before, but it's been a while. So let me know if you're going to go, and maybe we can meet up. Okay. I am wearing my Audrey sweater. This is one that my friend Rachel knit for me. Hi, Rachel. It's a worsted weight sweater. This is Knitty McPurly yarn, close to the color Beryl, but not exactly. I designed the Audrey sweater after a sweater that I had bought from a store that I loved. It was just so great. The only thing I didn't like about that sweater is it had these bell sleeves, which are cute, but very impractical. If you need any kind of practical things to happen in your day, like if you unload the dishwasher or fold laundry or drive a car, bell sleeves are just a huge pain. So the Audrey has these kind of 3/4 elbow sleeves, depending on how long your arms are. I have freakishly long arms, so on you they might hit a little bit lower. So this is not the color Beryl. Every time I wear it, people ask me, is that the Knitty McPurly Warsaw worsted in Beryl? It is close. Beryl is a little bit more saturated. This is one that I did that was kind of a precursor to Beryl years ago. But this is a great sweater. This is worsted weight, as I said, but if you wanted to make it in DK, Julie of the Knitty Cats podcast, hi Julie, she has done that using my gauge switcheroo worksheet. So if you want to knit at a different gauge or with a different yarn, you can gauge switcheroo it up with the gauge switcheroo worksheet, which is free on my website. I will also link the calculator that Cheryl has on her website below too, if you want to try that. Okay. Progress and shop news. So this is not super important, and it's not a big deal at all. But the Knitty McPurly logo had a very slight redesign. It's funny because when I started my website back in 2019, is that when I started it? I think so. Before that, I had my patterns on Ravelry. And then in 2019, I moved them over to my own website. And, I'm not a web designer. Techie stuff is not really my stuff. I'm not going to talk much about this. I'm just going to say it briefly because I think it's a little bit interesting. So what I did was I bought a pre-designed website on Etsy at the time. You could do that. I've looked and I don't know if you can still do that. Anyway, you do some magic and it pops up. And that was the way that my logo looked at the time. So, but since then I've wanted to be able to apply my logo onto different products, got new products coming up. And so I needed it better. So I worked with this artist, and so it went from this was the old logo, and this is the new logo. You can see it's not much different, but I love it. Like, it just filled me with joy to have it be so beautiful. And he did it in a couple of different colors, and I just love it. I'm so happy about it. Anyway, the biggest news in the shop is that the Takumi Pro needles are here. I sent out a newsletter this week about the new needles, and people went crazy. Many of them are already sold out, so I did reorder more this morning. I had the 24-inch circular and the 32-inch circular in stock in all the most popular sizes. They come in like other sizes, like 2.5. I mean, I don't know. I never use a 2.5 needle. But anyway, I had them in all the most popular sizes, and many of them have sold out. So I did reorder them in all of those sizes. Plus, I also got some in the 16-inch length, which is a great length for hats or small accessories. So I'll send out another newsletter when those come in, probably within the next few days. They're usually pretty quick. The price has gone up for me as a whole, as a retailer, but I am going to absorb that cost. I'm not going to increase the price of the needles. So there's that. These needles are amazing. So I put all of my current projects, the two that I'm currently working on these needles, and I'll show you this one. Is that the one I want to show first? Yeah, first I want to talk about my faded undulation shawl. And I'm going to show you a black and white picture of how that is looking. Because of course I can't show you that yet because I am using the Knitty McPurly 2025 For God So Loved the World Advent Calendar. I'm very excited about this Advent Calendar. I try to get it done in the summer. It's a very big project. It takes months because it's just me and I have an assistant. Obviously, Gigi is my assistant. And she does a lot of the work with me, but it takes us months to get it done. And so it is almost completely done. I have mine set out. So what I did was, and if you got an Advent calendar, if you got a Knitty McPurly Advent calendar, if you got a different yarn Advent calendar, here's a little, I don't know, tip, I guess. I found this to work really well because you want to keep them in order. What I did was, and I did them all at one time, obviously. I don't need the surprise. I chose the colors. But for your sake, when you open one, skein it up. And if you're not going to use it right away, put it back in the box so that you can see the order. And then if you have a scrap of that day, put it back in the box so that you have it in order. I did that. I think it works really well. I am loving my faded undulation shawl. This is a great project for an Advent calendar because it uses the right amount of yarn. It is a fade. What I've been doing, I bought this little scale. It's just a little portable scale on Amazon. It was like $8. This is very similar to the one I use when I'm dyeing. And that scale is amazing. Again, I paid like $10 for it on Amazon. I'll leave a link to it below. I don't earn any money if you buy it or anything, but it's nice to have this if you're working a project where you're fading. So what I've been doing, each skein is 20 grams. And so for the first skein, I worked 15 grams regular. And then when I had 5 grams left, I faded it with the next skein. And so that's 5 grams of the next skein. And then I'll work, then going forward, I'll work 10 grams of just the color. And then the last 5 grams, I will fade it. And it looks amazing. Like it looks so, so good. I'm very happy with it. As the rows get longer, I might change that up a little bit. But for now, that's what I'm doing. Keep an eye out for projects, either in a fingering weight or a DK weight, that use about 500 grams that are a fade. And those would be great for recommendations for the Advent calendar. If you did not get one and you want one, there are a very small number that'll go up in November. Don't worry, I will let you know. You'll have plenty of advance notice so you can get there and click it right when it goes up, if that happens. I didn't write this down, but just one other thing that I was thinking of is the League of Extraordinary Sock Knitters will be billed on the 1st, which I think is Monday. I never know, but I'm pretty sure the 1st is on Monday. So on the 2nd, Tuesday at noon, any openings for the month of October, did I say September? Yes, we're going into September. That yarn shipped out weeks ago. I like to be early with stuff. So we're talking about the October League of Extraordinary Sock Knitters. So if you want to get in on that, I know that there are a very small number of openings, but there's always a couple. So if you want to get that on the 2nd, September 2nd, you can get on at noon Eastern time and purchase that. I'll probably send out a newsletter about that too. Also, I wanted to share with you that September's color of the month is available now, early. What? So I decided that I wanted to make a colorway that was reminiscent of sharpened pencils. Remember that movie from the 90s, You've Got Mail? And Meg Ryan talked about the bouquets of sharpened pencils. I mean, that's an image that you just can't get out of your mind. And I think about it every September. So I dyed September's color of the month, which is mostly yellow, but it has some pink eraser in it. So it is a variegated, but the colors are so similar that it will knit as more of a tonal, I think. And then the mini for the sock set is a little silver band that holds the eraser on. So that is available now. Go get it. Okay, that is that project. It has been so fun. It's a great car project. The Faded Undulation shawl. You've probably worked shawls like this before. It's just all garter. And like every 10th row, you do some decreases and increases that make the undulation, and the rest is just plain garter. You like increase on one end and decrease on the other end. I guess it'd be like this to move the stitches along. It's really cool. It's very smart. Love it. Really been enjoying it. Also, I'm working on my petite knit Stockholm V-neck, of course, in the middle of a row. So this is what happened with this. I'm in the middle of this row here, almost to the end actually. But so for this pattern, you knit a rectangle that is the back piece. And I was knitting the medium because I got gauge. Like I did the gauge swatch, got gauge, was going to knit the medium. And I held it up. And for my stitch count at her gauge, I wanted my piece to be 22 inches across. But my piece was 26 inches. So for whatever reason, my gauge changed. I don't know why. I'm using a different needle. I'm knitting more stitches. I'm knitting while my daughter is driving, and I'm praying that none of us die and we all make it to school. So for whatever reason, it was totally off. And I thought, this is going to be too big. So I ripped it out. Yes, I did. Aren't you impressed? You should be. It was great. And then I recast on for the extra small. And I measured the length of this piece, and it is 22 inches. So I will get, with this needle and my gauge, probably the right size, even though it just because my gauge is off. That's all it is. It's kind of like using the gauge switcheroo worksheet, but I did it sort of differently. I knew the length it was supposed to be. And so I tried it at this size, and that worked out. It's exactly that length. So perfect. Anyway, that's why there's not very much progress on this, because I had to rip it out and start it again. So this is like maybe 4 inches, and I need like 8.5 of that. And then I forget what happens next. I think maybe I pick up for the fronts and start working that. But this sweater is going to be great. I really like it a lot. I love the Stockholm Surrey silk, which just so happens to have the same name as the sweater. I love that held double. It's not like the Dresden DK like I showed last week. The Stockholm Surrey silk is much more uniform. The Dresden DK is much wilder. It's just like a little kitten. It's like if a little kitten just woke up from a nap, that's Dresden DK. Speaking of Dresden DK, a lot of you ordered the Flux Cowl kits and have received them. Hopefully you have started them. If you put it on Instagram, put a hashtag like, Flux Cowl or KMP Flux Cowl or whatever. I would love to see those. That's a great little pattern, and it is still 50% off. It is only $3, and you can get the yarn for it also over on my website. I think I have one summer balm left in the stick. Pretty sure there's one left, and go grab it. And what scent are we going to do for the fall? Leave me a comment and tell me your favorite fall scent that you would like in a balm, and we will do it up. I love chai spice. Love chai spice. And I haven't done it in a while. Maybe we should do that. I don't know. Let me know what you think. All right. Comments and recommendations. I have a couple of recommendations for you today. I know many of you who watch my show are Christians, as I am. I've been doing the Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz. And he did this podcast in, I think, 2021. So it was like right in the heart of the pandemic. And it's 365 days. And by the end, you've read the whole Bible. And he reads little bits, and then there's like a little thing at the end. I listen to it on the Hallow app, which you can listen to for free. So the Hallow app does have a paid option, but you can get tons of stuff on there without paying. I don't pay. So it's free on the Hallow app. I think it's also on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's probably everywhere. But that is really good. If you want to read the Bible in a year, you don't have to start on January 1st. I started in the middle of July, and many days I'll do 2 days. And then some days, like on the weekends, I won't do any. So, I started beginning of July. I'm on day 49, I think. So there's that. And then to balance that out, so like there's my virtuous Bible in a year. To balance that out, I'm reading this new book called Entitled about Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, which is just, salacious gossip, basically. It's called Entitled. Anyway, I'm about halfway through it. It's just, I don't know, guilty pleasure reading. Following the royal family is always fun. All right, moving on to your comments. Anne Pinkava, hi Anne, says, come join us on the Intarsia dark side, Devin. Once you learn it, you will be free to make whatever wild pattern you want. And in my extremely biased opinion, the yarn management and tension of Intarsia is way easier to deal with than all the extra needlework. Not to mention that the fabric lays better if it is just knit to begin with no background color poking through. When I see that pair, I would simplify the lines and use a tonal yarn for half of it to make the effect. That is a great suggestion. So last week I showed this vest that I really liked and said, what I would do is knit it in duplicate stitch. And I got a bunch of good comments on that. But I like that idea, Anne, of using a tonal yarn to create the different colors. That's a great idea. Trish sent me an email to tell me that she used Intarsia and to show me the pictures. And it's amazing. Okay, so Trish has teenage daughters, and the teenage daughter saw this sweater on Pinterest and was like, Mom, can you make me this sweater? So Trish made Petite Knits Monday sweater, and with Intarsia, put the flowers on, and it looks like this. Isn't it even more beautiful than the original? I like it even more than the original. It looks so, so good. I think that when it comes to duplicate stitch, the most important thing is, just like Very Pink Knits showed in her video, the little clip that I showed last week, you don't want your yarn to be twisted. It needs to lay flat. And if it lays flat, I think it'll look great. I mean, this just looks amazing. Karen says, I love duplicate stitch and I substitute it for Intarsia often. I don't love Intarsia because of the yarn management. Now, Anne says it's easy, but maybe it's just easy for Anne. She says, I actually learned duplicate stitch during my cross-stitch days, long before I ever learned to knit. Cross-stitch stores would carry machine-knitted sweaters, and you could buy intricate duplicate stitched patterns to decorate the sweaters. I made many beautiful sweaters as gifts during that time. I wish I had saved pictures of them. So when I started to knit and heard about duplicate stitch, I was excited to get back into it. I love it. That is so cool, because machine knit sweaters are going to be much tighter. They use very, very thin yarn to get those sweaters. And so probably cross-stitch thread would be appropriate for that. Lori, who made the USA sweater, said, I love how your vest turned out. I have done Intarsia before, but I chose to duplicate stitch the letters on my USA sweater because they were not very wide, and it was okay for me, for them to stand out a bit. I think there's a place for both techniques. For instance, on the pear sweater, you could Intarsia the base layer of the pear and then go back in with duplicate stitch to put in the details. I love that idea. I wouldn't do it because I don't want to do Intarsia. I just don't want to. That's really what it's about. Although Anne is such a delightful, lovely person. If I were sitting down with Anne and like we could do it together, I would probably do it. But probably not unless it was under those circumstances. Kathy says, hi, Devin. For the lady who wants to try stranded color work, I would recommend a Christmas stocking. Gauge isn't critical. Arnie and Carlos release a stocking pattern every year with traditional Norwegian stranded colorwork motifs. Another good part is that the floats are short, so you don't have to worry about catching them. Now, I never catch floats. I just don't do it. I would rather have a long float than have to catch them. I don't like how sometimes the catched floats, the caught floats show through. If you stretch it, it annoys me. So I just let them be long. But again, I don't love long floats. I do them if I love the design enough, like the swan show that I made last year. But for the most part, that's what I do. Now, I had another lady comment and said, you should not recommend that a new colorwork knitter works socks because it's too frustrating. And I get that. I actually thought that when I said it last week because it's just easy to make your floats too tight. Even a seasoned colorwork knitter, which I am, I sometimes make my sock floats too tight. You really have to stretch your knitting with your right hand to make sure that those floats are long enough. I wouldn't recommend a fingering weight, and maybe that's what Kathy is saying here. These stockings are probably in a worsted weight or maybe a DK weight. I would think it would be better to use a larger weight of yarn if you're new to colorwork. Sarah says, the error encountered by Rachel from last week's story is exactly why I depend on Knit Companion. And she was not the only one who said this. She says, the problem of keeping track of where I am in my pattern is now solved. I can lay down the project for an extended period of time. And when I return, Knit Companion remembers where I stopped. That is super helpful. I have never used Knit Companion, but I could use it. Maybe I will look into it. Let me know what you guys think. Sharon also had a very similar comment, like, this is great. It solves this problem. The Stephen West pattern that I'm working on right now, the Faded Undulation Shawl, is it's great in a lot of ways. Stephen West, Andrea Mowry is like this too. And maybe it's because either they're very smart and capable, which they probably are. They also probably have help. But the pattern, they're so smart. Like, they're smart in so many ways: business, design, practical things like providing videos to help you with things. But the pattern is written very nicely. Like, he'll have the right side and the wrong side row separated by a space. So you go on to the next right side and wrong side. Like, they're coupled. The directions are coupled just like the knitting is coupled. And the pattern repeat is in a box, so you know where to look. So anyway, all right, knitting fantasies. My first pick is by Callie Monster of Monster Knits, who I have not heard of before. And her pattern is called Cleared for Takeoff. It is a travel-friendly shawl project, and it is a triangle shawl. When you look at this picture, that first picture, you think, oh, this is a cowl, but it's not. It's just a shawl that she has styled in my personal favorite way to style a shawl. But it is a triangle shawl. So the reason that I bring this up, it is a fingering weight and it looks like two skeins. So there's like a main color, and then the other one is a spin cycle, which kind of changes color throughout. This pattern is free this weekend. But through the end of the day, Monday, September 1st, I was right. Through that day on Ravelry with the code TRAVEL, you can get it for free. So if you want this pattern, go download it right now. Otherwise, it will be $7 if you don't use the code. Okay, so I picked that one, mainly because I wanted to let you know that it was free right now if you wanted to go get it. This one I picked because I just thought it was really cool. When I went, I looked on Ravelry's first page today for my picks. I don't always go there. I look in different places, but Ravelry is updated the most. Other ones, I'm kind of seeing the same patterns over and over again. But I saw a bunch of patterns that I hadn't seen before, and that was really, really nice. This one is by Sophie Ochera, and it's called The Original for adults. She also has this as a kids pattern. And if you go buy it for €8 this month, in the month of September, through the month, you can get the kids version for free. So if you go buy the adult pattern, you get the kids version for free on Ravelry. I don't know how that works. It must automatically deliver it. This comes in 4 sizes: small, medium, large, extra large. And she doesn't have those measurements listed here on the front page. It's probably further down. Anyway, it's a fingering weight pattern, but I just really like how it's like two different sweaters. The top highlights the round yoke design, and then the bottom is also color work, which is fun. And it just looks really fun to make. I liked it a lot. And I'd never heard of Sophie Ochera before. All right. So here's what happened. You guys, I am low on stories, all right? If you have a knitting story, please send it to me. Devin, with an I, at KnittyMcPurly.com. If you've had tragedy, comedy, everything in between, please write it out. If you're not a writer, if you'd rather speak it out, you can make an audio file on your phone. You can take a video of yourself telling the story. Send it in whatever manner you like. People generally want to write it out because probably they don't want to be on camera. It is kind of a thing. But I love video. Video is like my favorite and people almost never do it, which I understand. But an audio recording could work too if you just wanted to tell the story. So send it to me anyway. All right. Today's story comes from Kathy. And she calls this consolation knitting, which we've all had. And usually it's something very repetitive. So she says, 2008 to 2011 were very bad years for me. Without going into too much detail for fear that I'll sound complaining, here's what happened to me in my life during that 3-year period. I was assigned to a big project at work that required me to do work 7 days a week on most weeks. And it was a very, very toxic environment. It was the phase of my life where many of the generation before me passed away. I lost 4 uncles, 3 aunts, a couple family friends, and my dad. My best friend's husband battled leukemia and lost his battle about 3 months before my dad passed away. My mom and one brother battled colon cancer and both made full recoveries. Also, I was perimenopausal and I was trying to navigate parenting 2 high schoolers and a middle schooler. Yeah, that last thing alone is a lot. I get it. She says, this was the most stressful time of my life. I found a knitting project that I carried along with me everywhere. I never had enough time or energy to make much progress, but I did take solace in knitting a few stitches on my lunch break or while sitting in my car, waiting for my children to come out from practice or religious ed. The pattern was the Taize shawl, Taize, T-A-I-Z-E, I don't know how you say that word, by Susan Pandorf. Like the liturgy that it is named after, it is repetitive and soothing. So I did not know what she was talking about. And it's musical, and that's why I didn't know it, because music and me, we don't get each other at all. But it says, this shawl is named after a hymn format, whereupon the same musical phrase is repeated over and over. It is really sung prayer. That's cool. I'd never heard of that, but probably you musical people have heard of it. It's the Taize shawl by Susan Pandorf. Okay. As I knitted, I cried and prayed. My heart and soul poured into every stitch. It took me 4 years to finish it. And in the end, I had a beautiful shawl to wrap around myself like a hug. Some might think that it has bad memories stitched into it, but it doesn't. It has my survival stitched into it. I came through those years a much stronger woman than I was at the beginning. The shawl is a reminder of hope and the peace that someday will come for all of us. And she says, I'll link the shawl below. That is a great story, Kathy. I think we've all had things like that in our lives. For me, it was 2018 and 2019. Those were horrible years. And the shawl that I knit that started out as the What the Fade, and then I just started riffing, that was that shawl for me. And I still love that one. It's probably my favorite one. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited for the long weekend because I plan to get a lot of knitting in. I have been working back and forth on my 2 projects and just loving both of them. So I hope you have knitting to work on this weekend, and I will see you here next week. Bye, knitters.